Hi everyone, welcome back for the Wonder Wife Workshop, day number 5. So recently we've been speaking about different ways to communicate to our husbands when we have something that could be perceived as being negative. And some of the things that we've spoken about is being specific, not overgeneralizing, not over exaggerating, not mind reading. And we've specifically focused also on using I statements rather than you statements. And we've seen some of that put into action in some of our star examples that I shared with you yesterday from some of you fellow Wonder Wives who shared your success stories. So I want to go a little bit deeper with that today. There's an amazing acronym that I learned from my mentor teacher, Sarah Yocheved Rigler, and she calls it the G.A.S method. So G stands for give information, A stands for ask a question, and S stands for state how you feel. So oftentimes when we have something negative that we want to deliver that information to our spouse, we have to be aware that we don't want them to perceive it as an attack. Otherwise, they just shut down and don't even hear what it is that we have to say. And I mentioned yesterday the importance of not using a harsh startup, but beginning the conversation in a way where you're level headed and speaking in a positive tone, not a tone that has any kind of malice or harsh criticism in your language, but in a way where, as we go through the steps of G.A.S, step 1, G, give information. You are just giving factual information in an objective way without coloring it into some kind of blown out of proportion, feelings infused rage attack, right? So just give the information of what it is that happened that was upsetting or something that you need to deliver some sort of a feedback to your spouse. The second part, A, ask a question. So when we ask a question, as opposed to mind reading or just shouting information at our husband, it comes across much less as an attack. So by asking a question, we're allowing them to actually respond, to give their side of the story. Maybe there's a piece of information that we're missing. We don't know them inside and out as much as we may think that we do. And we certainly are not God. We don't know and see every single detail of everything that happens in our lives. So give them a chance. Ask a question related to what it is that you are trying to, the information that and feedback that you're trying to deliver. And then the S stands for state how you feel. And we have spoken about it is important to share your feelings. There's a popular expression amongst our sages that basically says words that are spoken from the heart will penetrate the heart. In Hebrew, it's dvarim sheyotzim min halev nichnasim el halev. So words that come from our heart are more likely to then penetrate the heart of the listener. So what does that mean, words from the heart? So the heart, we know, is the seat of our emotions and our feelings. So when we do speak about our emotions, once again, not in an you attacking way, but in an I, this is how I feel, this was my experience, then the listener, in this case our husbands, will be much more open to having that information enter their consciousness and be able to really internalize the messages that we're trying to share with them. So I wanted to just end off with just a practical example. Once again, I always try to make it real for you guys. So here's the situation. Okay, so there is a husband and wife. We can call them Dina and Chaim. And Dina is home watching her rambunctious kids running around, and it's the fast day of Tisha B'Av, which is in the heat of the summer. It's the longest fast day of the year, commemorating the destruction of the temple. And during the time that she's watching her kids, all of a sudden her husband's not home. He's at the synagogue, let's say going to a class or participating in the prayer service. And during that time, the lights go out. And she notices the fan stops spinning. And she realizes the power is out. She goes ahead and she calls the power company, the electric company, and they tell her that the bill for that month hadn't been paid. So they went ahead and they shut off the power. Well, Dina recognizes that Chaim's job is to pay the electric bill every month. So clearly he hadn't paid the bill. So what does she do at that point? She's hot. She's tired. The kids are making her nuts. She's fasting. She could pick up the phone, call Chaim, and berate him over the phone. She could say, "This was so irresponsible of you. What am I supposed to do now? I'm stuck home with all the kids and it's 100 degrees outside and soon we're going to all be boiling in this house. And, this isn't the first time this has happened and I can't count on you for anything. You're so irresponsible." She could generalize. She could attack him. She could use a harsh startup. She could use all the no negatives that I've been telling you not to do, right? Or she could use G.A.S, right? She could speak with her husband, maybe not even on that day. Maybe she goes ahead and she pays the bill over the phone. She takes care of it herself. She waits for the right timing, waits for the right moment when she's not fasting and emotionally charged and exhausted, and he's not fasting and emotionally charged and exhausted. Maybe waiting until the next day and then giving him the information. Chaim, I want you to know that the power went out. It's because they said that the electric bill wasn't paid. That's the information. Now, A, ask a question. Did you forget to pay the bill? What is it that you think is preventing you from paying the bill on time? Is there something I can do to be helpful to you to make sure that our bill gets paid on time? Those would all be things where she is asking a question and turning it over to him to hear his response. And then finally, S, stating how she feels. So when she hears a response from him, she could say to him, honestly, but in a non-attacking way, "When this happened, it was really hard for me. I felt really frustrated. I felt like in a hopeless situation where I was going to be home with all the kids in the heat. Who knew how long it would take for the power to come back on? And I felt abandoned by you. I felt disappointed that the bill hadn't been paid and that it was your responsibility." And hopefully he hears that. And then from there, they can really brainstorm together and make a plan for how to move forward together as a team, as a couple, so that something like that doesn't happen again. Okay, thank you so much for listening, and to be continued. Have a great night.